Hey guys, so welcome to Team 333's Thursday training. I'm your host, Gavin Kelsey. I'm in Somerset West in South Africa and really happy to have you all present, alert, and ready for a presentation. I'm honored. Wanted to say thank you to Chris Hutton for giving me the opportunity. It's always great to share something different, something that everybody runs into every day, but something that I think we all could do with. And one of the buzzwords that I'm going to be using and actually creating a bit of a brand for myself, and this is something that you can also, that we're going to address in this presentation, is to create a brand for yourself. And mine, I've decided to do this. It's going to be called Get Real with Gavin. And the idea around this is to let's get real around the issues that we face when we're dealing with Homo sapien, the rest of our community around the world, right? So while this is a communication slant for this presentation, it has actually got a lot to do with listening. And it has many, many byproducts when one listens to what people say. And it's a dying art, I'm afraid, because in part due to this apparatus I'm holding in my hand here, because it tends to distract people from even the most intimate conversations, certainly dinner, staff meetings. If you in the corporate world, people find the immediate, so long as your phone buzzes, you're off into the digital world, escaping and handling your phone rather than being present in the room. And so I put a slant on the communication thing and called it the art of listening. All right, so in the first point I wanted to make was to talk less and connect more. It is a tendency for many of us when we find someone who gives us the time and says, tell me about LifeWave, for us to immediately default to the same pattern and patter that we use in connecting with people. And we've almost got this pre-recorded set of points we want to get across because we've seen so many of those presentations ourselves. And you default into this you can default into this robotic presentation and just fire away, spewing onto people in your excitement about what LifeWave is all about, and the patches and David and Steve and Gina and our team and all the things that we're doing. And one of the things that we miss out on is what I've called active listening, the most underused skill, because you may find that as you default and start talking to people, that's not actually the question that they had or what they wanted to hear from you. And so you miss the point and almost immediately disengage with the person you're talking to. One of the ways to ensure that the person you're talking to feels valued and feels that they are important to you is something called acknowledgement. So whether they have a situation going on, and I'll give you an example, for instance, someone might say to you, well, tell me about LifeWave and tell me about these patches. So you start on, this is how well the company's done, and this is what the turnover has been, and this is where we projected to go, and this is what David says, how you must patch. And actually what they really wanted to finish up saying was, tell me about LifeWave and how the patches work, because I have X condition. You didn't allow them to finish their sentence, missed the important part, the actual question they wanted, and off you went. And 2 minutes into your dissertation and presentation, full of enthusiasm, thinking that you're going to be able to change this person's life, they've checked out. So it's important to allow the person you're speaking to in person, on a screen, over the phone, to say what they want to say completely and then acknowledge the fact that they've done that. All right. Listening builds trust faster than speaking. And it's an interesting exercise to try for yourself. Instead of immediately jumping into a presentator or presentation mode, jump into a listening mode. Give the person the environment, the atmosphere to begin expressing their situation. And then you have the golden nugget or the key to the doorway to enter their universe, if you like, and understand what their situation is. And you can address it directly, immediately, because once you've done that, you can then use that as the platform on which to peg the rest of your presentation. I hope that makes sense to you. So talk less and listen smarter is something that we can all do with. Right. Now, it is really the listening that builds trust, because the person that you're talking to feels that they are being heard, that you are interested in them, not interesting to them. And that's a very subtle difference, but it will go a long, long way. All right. And when someone feels heard, they feel valued. You can try this out on kids. They will give you the instant measure of whether or not they've been heard or not. If you have toddlers, for instance, and I remember mine, if you ignore them or don't acknowledge a comment that they've made or a question that they've asked, they're going to continue, and at some point will stop and walk off and be grumpy about that. So when you feel heard, people feel, when someone feels heard, they feel valued. All right, next point. The biggest listening mistake that we could make. Thinking of your response while that person is talking. What happens is you actually can see it on someone's face when they are anticipating how they're going to answer you before they've finished explaining their situation. Give you another example. The person is in front of you. They've asked for you to explain a little bit about what the patches do, and have said to you that they constantly have headaches, and it's something that they would like to address. While they're busy explaining their lifestyle and what the situation is that they feel may be leading to it, you're already you're thinking about the answer and how you're going to address it with this person, and you actually can't wait for them to finish. And very often, we don't allow them to finish. We jump straight in and say, I got it. I understand exactly where you're at. Listen, this is the solution. But you didn't hear them out, okay? And that sort of checkout, when you can see it in someone's face where they suddenly go off. You can find that at dinners where where couples are not very talkative. You see the sort of blank stare disappear, and you can see that the couples are not engaged. That's all that's happened. The one is thinking of the response while the other person is talking. All right. Another fault we can make is interrupting someone or finishing someone's sentences. It's really annoying if someone does that. And sometimes you're just, the person who's with you is trying to explain something that they've never explained to anybody else before, other than, for example, a medical doctor. So they're trying to get all the information together to give to you, and they are thinking while you're busy talking to them, and may be slow, may hang up with a slight delay, and you're going, well, I know where this is leading, because the person is talking about having body ailments and sore joints, and you know of another success story where someone you've assisted had sore joints and you put them on a certain protocol and now they're feeling much better and you just can't wait to jump in and tell this person, oh, wait, okay, I hear what your problem is. You you haven't heard them. And one of the worst things you can do is cut someone off. And this happens a lot in business, and it happens a lot in groups where they're talking together. Someone wants to get a word in before the other person is finished, and it's quite rude, actually. So pay attention to that point. Don't interrupt or finish someone's sentences. Just let them get all of what they want to say and communicate over to you, and they'll show you when they're done. You'll sense that. Give it a pause before you then say, okay, I got it. I hear you. That is so, so valuable. Okay. Next point, looking around the room while they speak is something that is, again, I want to almost say it's totally disrespectful. It's the same as keeping an eye on your phone on the table while with a group of people, or it's in your back pocket and it suddenly starts vibrating. And while people are talking to you, you're like, okay, sorry, guys, just give me 1 second. I just need to. No. The most important person right there and then is the one that you're busy talking to or the one that you're listening to. Okay. All right. So next one, jumping into advice or Me Too stories. So someone is explaining how they had an accident one day. They were riding a motorcycle and this is what happened to them. And you go, oh, wait. I want to share my story with you. You know that 10 years ago, I also had a motorcycle accident. It was massive. It was much bigger than yours. Come on. Come on. All you're doing is you're killing that person's enthusiasm or their willingness to openly share with you. Because in our business with LifeWave, we need to understand what the situation is with the person we're busy talking to in order to advise them correctly. You know, it could be as completely silly as when you thought you were trying to address a physical situation with them, they're actually more interested in the business, but you didn't allow them the chance to finish their sentence. They may have said, well, yeah, I know I've got these few niggles and what have you, and I'm a triathlete and I do all these things, but you know, actually, I'm more interested in and you cut them off, and they were about to say in the business, and you went off and said, well, let me tell you about the stem cells. This is David Schmidt, and this is when they were done. You missed the boat. Okay? Fatal mistake because we weren't listening. All right. These things in this slide, those points, they seem harmless, but they really do create a disconnect. So if you're ever wondering why the person that you were speaking to and you spend so much time with didn't sign up immediately, enroll immediately, ask more questions, they ended up ghosting you and never got back to you. If you're ever wondering why that happened, have a reflect on the conversation that you had and see if you made one of these mistakes. Okay? Are you really listening, or are you just waiting for your turn to talk? And that's something that we should all remind ourselves on. Are you really listening? Because the secret is in if you're really listening. Okay. Number 3, read the room. So the room can be a room full of people in a Zoom meeting. It can be a literal room where there are people, or it can be one phone call that you're having with another person. You can read the room. You'll get what I mean in a second. So there are signals that attract or repel attention. Here's a signal in a Zoom meeting that will attract attention. I'm really interested. I'm leaning in. I'm engaged. I'm showing that I'm paying attention. I'm looking directly at the camera, and I'm saying, you in this meeting are the only person that I'm interested in talking to. All right. As opposed to in a presentation, I could be doing something like this. Or you notice when someone is doing a presentation and they're just quickly typing on their phone. Come on. All right. So there are many other signals. Here's a signal that repels attention. Okay. Here's a signal that attracts attention. You will be talking at a fairly decent rapidity, and you're spinning your sentences together, and you notice that the person that you're talking to suddenly loses attention. And if I stopped momentarily, you would find that they would swing back and they would be focused on you again. So these are signals. One needs to become quite smart at what is attracting attention and what is repelling attention. Okay. And I don't want to get into a whole body language thing because it's not my speciality. I'm sure there are very, very smart people who look at that. But these are some of the things that I've encountered in training many real estate agents, is you need to be able to read the room. And then what I call mirror with authenticity. What I mean by that is, if you're talking to a group of people who are full of energy, they have all had double espressos and they haven't eaten, and it's very early in the morning and everyone is so excited, you can't be amongst those people and talk this way. You've got to match their enthusiasm. Likewise, if there's a situation where someone has had a long, tough day and they are not feeling that chipper and enthusiastic because it's been a tough old week or a long day, you can't run around like a Duracell bunny in your conversation with them. You need to match and mirror their tone level. How are they feeling? Okay. That way you don't repel their attention. Okay. Spatial awareness in group settings. What I mean by that is the space that you fill between the people around you. Sometimes when you start to talk to a group, sometimes so this is generally in a live setting, you would notice, or you get the idea, that more people have joined the group. But sometimes they don't have space, so they end up standing behind you, or someone stands off to one side. It's really important that when someone is trying to be part of it but can't find the space to get in, that you invite them into the circle. So your awareness of the space around you allows people to enter, and this is what we are looking for. Okay. Often it's those people sitting on the edges that become your most avid supporters, because they're just listening from the side and don't want to be in the spotlight. All right. Give full physical and mental presence to the person. So you're in a group, for instance, and one person says to you, I just want to have a word with you. It's so important to address just that person and not worry about the others. You can always get back to them. But we handle this with some etiquette and politeness, because that's the way you can focus on one person, keep it short and sweet. Whether you say to them, I tell you what I'll do. In 5 minutes, I'm going to finish my conversation with this group, and I'd love to have the one-on-one conversation with you in a quieter space, or call you back, or here's my card, or whatever the case is, right? Always create a situation where that person is going to feel like they're the only one in the room. All right. In busy environments, it is tempting to speed up, given my double espresso group meeting. Okay. The thing to do is slow down, because people hang on the words that you're saying, especially when you have one or two who are really interested. It tends to cause the others to do so and engage with you that way. All right. Then listen more and act, so a short acronym for acknowledge people. Okay. So listen to what the group is saying, ask prodding questions so that you get a better picture of what answers you need to give that addresses their issues. Here's a perfect situation, and you've seen this in many group meetings, in business, in social setups. One person who's drifted off and is engaged in their phone and disappeared from it. It's important, and also important for them, to bring them back to the conversation, either by disrupting or by being silent for a minute, but bring people back into the conversation, because they miss out and they may have missed the exact point that would have got them to join up or embrace it. All right, number 4, mastering small talk without feeling small. Quite an interesting thing. In a brand new group of people, small talk is usually the thing that gets the fire started, right? It's how are you, where you come from, what's your name, who are you here with? These little warm-ups, okay, are essential before delivering or expressing your points about the business or about the product. So turn awkward chit chat, or how do you do that? How do you turn awkward chit chat into real rapport? You ask questions and allow that person to explain who they are, where they come from, what are they doing here, what do they expect to achieve out of it, what kind of questions do they have, is there anything that they want to address, who sent them here, is that brand partner in the room, could you point them out to me, etc., right? This is a way to build the picture around that person so that you know what you're dealing with. Conversation starters and bridge questions. All right, a conversation starter is simple. And look, I don't know about you guys, but one's got to develop the steel chest plate of talking to strangers. This is just part of our business, right? So a conversation starter is as simple as, given the scenario, right? What brought you here? Are you here with somebody else? If they start talking about their family and their cars and their job and all these other kinds of things, these are conversation starters. Some people tend to go on and on and on and want to explain their entire life story to you, but it's not where you're wanting to address things, right? So you've got to bridge between the chit chat, getting to know the person, and getting down to brass tacks. And at some point during that conversation about who they are, where they come from, and what they're doing here, and their life story, there's a bridge to get to, all right, I hear where you've come from and the situation that you're wanting to address. Now, let me explain how LifeWave can do that for you. And there you've bridged from chit-chat into a conversation around the product itself. And there you get much better value, right? Remembering we allow the person to finish, we acknowledge really well so that that person knows that they have been heard. Now, reading cues to exit the conversation gracefully. What happens when you're caught in a group or we're standing with someone and they just will not stop talking? And the person you promised to meet with one-on-one in 5 minutes is standing off to one side, and you just can't find the way to extract yourself from the person who is going on. And it's fine. But sometimes you have to bring that to an end. All right. And there's a really famous, I don't know if you guys know an Australian comedian called Carl Barron. If you don't, look him up sometime. Carl with a C. He's hilarious. And he had a little sketch about how he got out of conversations like that. And the way that he used it was, he said, and the person's going on and just not finishing, and he's just said, anyway, and he'd move off again, right? You can practice ways of doing this, but one of the easiest things is just to acknowledge what at a good point. Say, listen, man, I got it. I hear you. Tell you what, can I pick this up with you in a couple of minutes? I'm just going to go and chat with Kevin over there, and off you go. All right. You have to take charge of it, but you can do that gracefully and with good manners. All right. So you attend to the person, you acknowledge who they are and what they've said to you, and you advance directly into, this is what LifeWave can do for you. The business, the patches, whatever the situation is. Okay. So those are the 3 A's. All right. Number 5, Listening phrases that build trust. Okay, what do we mean? Here are some one-liners that you can use that get the person to engage with you a lot more. Instead of saying, I understand, or um, really? These words and phrases tend to end things. What you don't want to do is end things. You want to have the person continue to share with you until you get to the crux of the matter. So halfway through it, you could say, if they're wrapping up and you haven't got all the information you need, you could say, well, tell me more about that. Tell me more about your situation, where you come from, whatever is pertinent at the moment. So that little phrase, tell me more about that, keeps them engaged, keeps them talking. You could say, that sounds important to you. What do you think a person on the other end of that is going to do? Because what you're doing, you're actually inviting them to continue. And this is the secret of building trust and understanding their situation. Here's another one. I hear you. And what happened next? Because they could get interrupted, they may lose their train of thought, whatever the case may be. These are simple little phrases that continue the conversation, right? Here's another one. Can I reflect back what I heard? In other words, the person's got to the end and you want to narrow down to the one point that you really need to answer. And there may have been two of them. The business side may have come up at some point, and an actual physical situation may have come up. Now you want to find out which one of those is more important. Okay, so can I reflect back what I heard? So I heard that the business side of it is really important to you. But so which one is it, the business side or whatever you want to address? And they're going to tell you, no, the business side or whatever it is, right? So can I reflect back what I heard? It's one of the ways that lets the person know that you actually heard what they said, because you're giving them back what they've just told you. All right. Number 6, connection over conversation. You definitely want to establish a connection with someone, not just have a conversation. We want to get into the heart of the situation. All right. So how do we establish connection? We lead with value. How do we get to that point? Is we understand exactly what the questions are that we need to answer. And then we use the product, the materials that we have at our disposal, the experiences that you've had, and the testimonials that are available to show the value, right? Whether it's that or the business. Okay, but we lead with value always. We also, in order to connect, solve the problem. And if no problem has been presented yet, you use those short phrases to get the person to continue to talk so that you find out what the actual problem is. Because if you think one of them is the problem and it's not the actual problem, you won't keep their interest. All right, remember that one. So the question is, not the question, but the idea is don't transact with someone. We don't want to do a transaction with you. We want to transform whatever's going on with you, either physically, mentally, or financially. And that's part of the value proposition that we're giving. And that's when people connect with you. They don't just walk away having had a conversation. All right. Then build a network that advocates for you. Building connections creates a network of people who are advocates for you. They are ambassadors for you. They are your working representatives duplicating what it is that you've done. And if you're showing all of these factors around communication and listening, they're going to pick up on the way you do things, and they're going to duplicate that with others. And as soon as others get to feel like they've also been heard, more and more people become advocates for you. So that's one of the secrets. People don't remember what you said necessarily, but they certainly will remember how you made them feel. And that is more important because they can always come back to you to get a reminder of what you said, but they'll only do that if they remember how you made them feel. And it's got to be one person at a time. Okay. Honestly, it works time and time again. Okay. So when you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you will learn something new. I love that. I love that. Because isn't that so true? You're only repeating you're only saying what you already know. But if you listen to someone else, you're going to learn something new about them and probably learn something new about yourself. Okay, good. So number 7, your voice is your brand. Okay, what do I mean by that? Tonality inspires confidence. Or if I um, 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 spoke sort of unsure and doesn't inspire confidence, right? Or I am battling to grasp the words I need. Those don't inspire confidence. So knowing our subject really well inspires confidence in other people. And that way you can talk with authority on it. Okay. So your tone will do that. If I spoke in a very high pitch or I spoke very monotone, neither one would work. It has to be your authentic self. Okay. Avoid filler words and weak phrasing. The word is uh, something you know that you repeat. These are filler words. And filler words and weak phrasing only come into effect when you don't know your subject well. Or you need more practice to speak to groups of people. Right? Either way, you can fix it. But the first one is you need to know your subject. And when you know your subject, it's easy to speak with authority. Okay, that one I can give you for free. All right. So how to come across as credible and approachable? Know your subject. It's that simple. It's actually, there isn't anything else. Now, here's an interesting nugget or tidbit I want to leave with you. Statements that end with statements, so when you're putting a fact out there, they end when your tone drops off. Is that so? Finishes something, right? It's a statement. Really? Here's a statement. But if I want someone to continue talking, the questions or the bridge end with tone up. Oh, really? I'll give you a statement. Tell me a bit more about that. Tell me a bit more about that. Which one is going to make you start talking? The one with the tone that drops ends it. The one with the tone that is higher at the end invites more conversation. You see how that could work? Okay, it's something to practice, but I promise you, if you listen to professional speakers, keynote speakers who are paid ridiculous money for the skill that they have learned, you will notice when they want to make a statement, they end it with tone drop off. And if they're inviting some response from the audience, there'll be a tone up at the end. Give it a try and see if it'll work for yourself. So remember that you can use this to end a conversation or to keep the other person talking. All right, you can practice that whenever you get a chance to. All right, handling awkward moments like a pro. What do I mean by that? Well, what to say when you forget names or titles. Has that ever happened to you? You know, if you're take the upcoming event in June, 7th of June, right? Oh, there's definitely the 7th of June in Johannesburg. You're going to meet so many brand new people and you're not going to be able to remember all their names. I can't. I certainly can't. So how do you fix that? You just ask a interesting question, something that you want to know about them. So tell me again where you're from. Oh, that's right. And that might spark off remembering who they are. Or turn and see their name badge. All right. Whatever it is, it's not something to be embarrassed about or a reason not to talk to someone just because you can't remember their name. Right. How do you navigate rejection and interruptions? Politely holding your demeanor, holding your stature. It has absolutely no benefit to anyone by being abrasive, right? So if you get rejected by someone, it's on them. If they interrupt, one can calmly just wait for them to finish and say, is it okay if I continue now? And that's one of the easiest ways to do it, right? But two people talking over one another, or three people, or four people trying to get in the same word at the same time, no one's going to hear what they're saying. Everyone's so interested in getting their point across. All right. How do you diffuse tension? With grace and humor. You might find someone that in a group conversation or just on their own may have a very strong opinion about what they heard about LifeWave or multi-level marketing or network marketing from before at another company and what they went through. You know as much as I do, all our treasured partners in this business who've been around for a while have all said it's not network marketing that's the problem, it's the previous network marketers that have been the problem. And that's the easiest one to end that. And frankly, we don't have to explain anything about LifeWave. The facts of the matter are that David Schmidt has patented everything, and all those records are available for anyone to go and have a look at. It's up to you. And if you don't like it, I bid you farewell, and I'm going to go my own way. All right. There's no reason to get upset or try to push your point across. There's absolutely no need for no necessity to do that. And here's one of those things around interrupting again. Oh, I'm sorry. Did the middle of my sentence interrupt the beginning of yours? I love that. So watch yourself. And it's funny when you start to look at things like this, you can actually look around a room and see who's doing this. And it's quite a laugh because you'll notice that there's a lot of talking going on and no one's saying anything because no one's actually listening. They're all trying to figure out what they're going to come back with once they get a slot in there. Okay. All right. Point number 9. Your digital body language. Yes, we do need to address how we use this. Yeah, WhatsApp is one of our default mechanisms for messaging people. Now, I don't know how many of you use emojis all the time. Well, for some people it will work, and for some people it won't. How do you know whether emojis will resonate with the person that's reached out to you via WhatsApp or SMS or Telegram or whatever the case is? How will you know? Well, you know if they use it. So if they're using emojis, it's okay for you to do the same. If they leave voice notes rather than typing out the message for you to read, that's the best way to respond back to them, right? So you mirror what it is that they're doing. But it certainly does gain acceptance if you mirror the way they communicate with you. The same can be said for emails, for whatever method of communicating they use, right? Messaging the tone for ultimate acceptance is to mirror the way they're doing it. Okay. Here's another one. Engage, but don't overshare, right? Particularly when you're sending videos, information, links, testimonials. You've got to do it slow-paced, enough for the person to be able to take the time to view or read the one you've just sent before you send another one, because they're going to skip the first one and read the latest one. So if you're sending 10 at a time, they're going to eventually only watch number 10 because the others have disappeared in all their other messages. All right. So be careful not to overshare too much. Rather share one and check in if they've read it, heard it, watched it, whatever the case may be, and then ask them, so what did you get out of that video I just shared with you? What was the thing that struck you about what you've just read? Now you know whether they've read it or not. But you better have read it or watched it too, right? Okay. When you switch from digital to in-person or live videos, so you may have spoken to someone, they've said, I've got to run, please WhatsApp me. You've started WhatsApping them, you've got in conversation with them, and it's over WhatsApp and you're going backwards and forwards. At what point do you say, okay, listen, I need to meet with you? At what point do you do that? Because you need to get belly to belly with that person. Yeah, but they live in Portugal. Then you go on a Zoom like this, because this is live and that's the next best thing. Well, you could jump on a plane and fly to Portugal, I guess, and that wouldn't be too bad. But do you see? At some point, you've got to make the switch and say, listen, I really need to meet with you. So I'm coming over. Where are you right now? Or I'm going to put you into a Zoom call with me. Okay. When you do that, as soon as that flow of information between the two of you becomes regular occurrence, there's this backwards and forwards banter. All right. Because at some point, if you don't react and get an in-person or a live communication going on with them, that banter backwards and forwards is going to slow down and they're going to disappear. You've missed the opportunity. Then you have to start from scratch again. Okay, good. Number 10. Storytelling that opens doors. Now, you have to craft your origin or your story for impact. What happened to you? What is your life story that you need to share with every single person that you meet? And you can't leave anything out, and you've got to tell the whole story. And this is the fastest way to create connection. All right? But you need to craft your story. The truth around what happened to you is the fact. The way you put it across gets the person to connect with you authentically or not. All right. And don't downplay whatever it was that got you to change your life, your business, your job, whatever it was that created a change. Craft that story. Okay. So that it has impact, and then say the same one over and over again. Okay. You can separate the chapters, for instance. So if you are doing a presentation, you can start with a small part of it in the beginning, get to something in the middle and go back to it, and towards the end circle back, so that you always have people who are listening to you over the phone, on a Zoom, in person, engaged with finding out what was the end of the story. Okay. Then remember that what you have to say is important and life-changing. And if someone doesn't give you the opportunity to do that, let it go. It's on them, not on you. So if people stop listening, it's on them. All right. They will come back at some point, and it'll be too late. Not too late. It'll be later. Someone else is going to take their place. All right. It is important what you're saying. This is why we have to call people. All right. And just don't back off. Not for a second. Okay. No's mean, you've heard it hundreds and hundreds of times. No's mean not now, or no means I'm just not ready yet. Okay. You need a lot of no's in order to get to the first yes. Okay. Good. So an active listener will set their phone aside, out of sight, not just over there in case it rings. I must just go to it quickly. All right. Unless you're expecting an emergency call because it's a serious matter. But then you can say to the person, listen, I know we're going to start talking. Please forgive me. I am expecting a call from whatever about the condition of whoever. If that one person phones, Please, will it be okay if I take that call? Then it's fine. Good. So an active listener will make contact. They'll lean in and show that they're interested. They'll nod, understand, and affirm that they are hearing you. They'll mirror their emotion by smiling or showing concern or anger, whatever the situation calls for. That someone who asks follow-up questions tells me that they are listening. They won't interrupt me. They're not going to judge me. They're not going to shift for convenience sake to what they want to talk about, right? And they're not going to. If you paraphrase what somebody has said, in other words, hey, can I just check with what you said to me? Is it right that in 1942 you had this kind of an accident and blah 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 blah? That's right, eh? When you paraphrase what they've just said, it lets them know that you have been paying attention. And right there, you will win with that person. They know that they're valued and that their message is getting across. Okay, right. Now, here's a 5-day listening challenge I want you to think about. You can do it on your own. I just thought this could be quite a lot of fun. And just to take this to another level, so figure out if this actual listening gig that we've been talking about actually works. So the 5-day listening challenge is like this. Day 1, you could start tomorrow, you could start on Monday. You can decide and just have fun with it if you like. And day 1, no interrupting anyone for any reason whatsoever. That's day 1. Day 2, acknowledge everything said or sent to you. Any message, any SMS, anything where it deserves an answer, right? Where there's a question or it's something of importance, then acknowledge it. A spam email trying to sell life insurance when you actually are sorted does not need to be answered, right? So let's just look at that. But where someone is asking something and you feel you should respond, on day 2, you acknowledge everything, okay? Especially when people are talking. On day 3, whatever conversations you're involved in, paraphrase someone's point. In other words, repeat it back to them. So at a business meeting, so Joe, what you actually meant to, was what you were actually saying was you want to take the turnover of the business from blah to this. Okay, I get you, and I understand how you're wanting to do it. You mentioned 1, 2, 3, 5 ways of doing it, right? Joe, an employee or someone in your team, is going to say, man, you heard exactly what I was saying. And that's going to build connection. All right, try that on day 3. On day 4, ask a follow-up before responding. Right? What we mean by that is the person has asked you a question, and you're going to say something like, hey, okay, so let me make sure I've got this right. You said you wanted an answer about. You give them their question back. Okay? Or get them to talk more. That sounds like something that's really important to you. Can you share a little bit more with me? And there they go. Okay, that's day 4. Day 5, reflect what changed in your interaction. So take all the previous 4 days and go, what did you learn by doing this 5-day listening challenge? And see what happened. It'd be crazy to know. I'm sure we're going to see many of you at the South African convention. Maybe some of the guys from overseas may not be there, but hey, doesn't matter. We're all going to meet with each other again soon. I'd love to know if you took it up and what you found out. It'd be so interesting to hear. Okay, good. That's the end of this presentation around communication and the secrets behind listening. I want to just say I'm thrilled once again to have had the opportunity to chat with you guys. Unfortunately, it's not a two-way conversation, but I hope you found this interesting, prompted some thoughts, maybe checked your own behavior when it comes to talking to people, and I hope that it inspires you to change something in your conversation that will bring people to pay more attention to be valued, and to feel like they can be ambassadors for you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Um, thank you, David. Thank you, Rachel. To everybody, thank you, Don. I appreciate it, man. We're going to see a lot of you on the 7th of June in Johannesburg. And for the rest of you, thank you so much. I'm going to end the recording now and have a warm, snuggle evening. And once again, thank you so much for joining me.